With 78 straight wins, the UConn women completed their path to perfection, winning the NCAA championship for the second year in a row. They broke records along the way, but there was a catch. UConn scored the fewest points in Final Four history during the first half. Fox 61's Rich Coppola was there for the big victory.
Gino Auriemma said he was glad his team faced adversity in the second half. You never know what it means down the road. Well, tonight was down the road. The Huskies were awful in the first half, trailing by 20-12 at halftime. But in the end, they cut down the nets.
We were a little shell-shocked, don't get me wrong. I thought the look on our faces in that first half was like, we can't believe this is happening. And then when we came out in the second half, you could see a different look in their eye.
We played the worst half of basketball I think any of us have ever played. We knew it couldn't get any worse. So we just came out, put that behind us, and moved on. And I'm just so confident in my teammates, and I knew we would never quit.
We knew how we were going to handle it. We knew, we were going to stay composed and we were going to keep fighting. But it was a way to show, I guess, the media and the fans that we can handle, that kind of pressure. And
it was a close one right there. Stanford played hard defense. They came out hard. They knew this was their last go-around too for their seniors. So
that's why this team, I think, was pretty special. They listened. They pay attention. They're just an absolute pleasure to be around, and I'm thrilled to be their coach.
On a Tuesday night in San Antonio, the Huskies made history. It wasn't their A game, but it was enough to make it back-to-back unbeaten seasons, back-to-back national championships. In San Antonio with the Huskies, Rich Coppola.
Here for a closer look is Fox Connecticut sports anchor Bob Rumbold. Bobby, okay, first of all, what happened in that first half?
That was, what it really boils down to me? They'd gone on, and for 77 games, they just thought about playing. And at one point, it was almost in their eyes that they realized what they were doing. They were going for a second straight 39-0, 78 in a row. The enormity of it all. Finishing off something, completing it. And I think it got into their heads for a period of time, and sometimes it's not like you freeze up, but you think too much. Yeah. And they just didn't play. And, they're also playing in a dome, which to me personally, there's just funny background, because if you notice the shooting percentages for those three games, the semifinals and the finals, wasn't quite as great for any team. And so it's kind of rolls, and we're not hitting, and this and that. And, Maya threw up 2 or 3 air balls, and Tina's inside. She travels. Too much thinking. Sometimes in your head, you just got to go out and play, which is what they did in the second half.
Yes, it is. So there has been this lingering kind of controversy or debate, people saying their dominance and their winning so much is bad for the women's game. I mean, what do you make of that? I don't know. I think it's a crazy argument. But what do you make of it?
That's garbage.
I mean, it is, right?
Yeah.
And it's almost a sexist argument.
Hey, how about everybody else get better? Right. Okay? It's one of those things. They better thank their lucky stars that Elena Deladon went back to Delaware. Okay?
Right,
because if not, it probably would have been automatic for the next year, because it's always the next year somebody else, and they just keep growing. This is going to be a great team anyway. But, it'll be challenged next year, because obviously, its biggest gun inside is gone, and Tina Charles, and the center position has a little bit of replacement issues at the moment anyway. But then again, they'll just adapt, and they're still good, and they'll be right there. And they might beat UCLA's 88 in a row. Who the heck knows? Yeah. But Gino, let's give him credit. They always play somebody tough early in the year. So if they're going to get to 88 straight and break the record, they're going to do it against some good teams, because they always play tough teams. Hey, there they are. Are they arriving again or what?
So what is Gino, what's that whole thing about him saying, I'm going to leave if we don't lose? That's just Gino talking, right?
Oh, you know what that is? It's like somebody tweaking somebody, which people do to me, just to get me fired up. And I think he did that just to see what response is. He does.
There's no chance.
No, and it's the same thing that a coach does, which he does to his players. It's like tweaking them to get them either to play harder or to do this or do that. He's just tweaking us to see if Gino said this. Yeah, he says a lot of crazy stuff just to see what response you might get.
Yeah, that's interesting. A far different story for the UConn women than the UConn men. What should we expect from them next season?
You know what? They're going to be fine. This is just one of those things that's just, it was never quite right. The half-court offense was there. I mean, it's just, I don't know. It's as though they lost confidence at some point during the year, because if you think about it, they played some great ball against against really good teams. I mean, they beat Texas. They were in it against Kentucky. The only team that I thought that they didn't play well, that kind of had their number, Duke, is the only team that really dominated them. Everybody else they could have beaten. They just either shot themselves in the foot or couldn't finish the game. Otherwise, they're right there. So, it's going to be tweaked. There's some of the guys, Sticks and whatnot are gone. And Gavin, it's going to be different. But, Jim Calhoun's a great coach. So, and now he's fired up to kind of get those guys back together. And with Kemba Walker staying, they'll be okay.
All right, and switching gears to the other big sports story of this week, Tiger Woods returned to the Masters. How do you think he's going to do, and then what do you think about all the distraction?
Well, it's golf's a tough game, but he's great, and I'm sure he'll hang in. Whether or not he'll make the cut, who the heck knows? He's such a great golfer. It is hard. The guys have said that his game's, a couple of guys who played with him said his game's not there yet. Well, it's not there yet. But this is a better environment, to be honest with you, than playing somewhere else where there might be more heckling. He hasn't really gotten heckled yet. And he's a little bit insulated from the more difficult crowd, people who might say stuff and whatnot.
Right.
I mean, I know they had a plane flying overhead that kind of said some stuff, but that's way up there. It's not on the ground,
right.
So he'll be okay.
What about the commercial? Because there is that commercial we were talking about now that has his father's voice talking and making reference to how do you feel, what are your thoughts about this, as if alluding that the father's talking about Tiger's most recent problems, which of course he is not because he's been passed away. But what do you make of that? What do you think of the commercial?
It's eerie.
It is eerie. It's creepy.
It's kind of like, you want to bring your deceased father's voice. I mean, obviously there are people that are passed away and they bring back interviews and this and that, but it just has that...
But just the way that they're using it to me.
It's almost like they're using it to your advantage or to Nike's advantage. It's kind of they're trying to repair his image. And obviously for it to be on, to be used, he's got to say yes to it, and maybe he feels it will repair his image as well.
Well, the response on Thursday from the gallery as he was hitting his first tee and all that was very positive, I thought. Much more positive than
but you have to be skeptical of that. I mean, they're not going to let anybody in that's going to go, start booing him and everything, and it wouldn't be surprised if his agency got enough people in there to go cheer him. So, there's
plants in the crowd.
There's a little bit, fine, but there are enough people out there to think some of the stuff he did wasn't so hot. How do you know what I mean? So, it's down the road when he plays in some of the other places like a U.S. Open or whatnot, where the galleries are going to have a different kind of crowd, and people get in that aren't quite this crowd. That if they don't act properly, they're out of here, and they'll never get a ticket to the Masters again.
Right.
It's going to be different down the road.
Yeah, we will have to see. Well, thanks a lot, Bobby, for stopping by.
Lori.
And don't forget, if you missed something here on The Real Story, you can now watch it online by going to fox61.com. You can also catch us on YouTube. Thanks so much for watching us here on this week's edition of The Real Story. See you here again next week.